Hello, fellow AFL enjoyers. The boys are back in Braeside.
That's it, man.
Unfortunately, Dino isn't here today because he's on a scouting mission in Sydney at the minute. So he's digging a little bit. He's putting the feelers out there, seeing the sources.
Sydney's 0-2, and he's gone up there to work out why.
100%. I think he's going to actually have a coffee with John Longmire, just to see why he left and why. He knew he was jumping off the sinking ship. So Dino will bring back some useful information. I'm sure.
Stay tuned next week for that.
Yeah. But hey, how good was that? 9 games of footy.
If that doesn't show you why round zero is ridiculous. I mean, what an exciting round of football. You had a couple of teams that just flopped on their ass. You had a couple of debutants come in and destroy. That's what it's all about, man. Not you come in and you get surprised by round one.
Yeah, you know what? The thing you just said right there, debutants. We were talking about it. I'm like to Dino. I'm like to my dad. I'm like, is it debutants or debutant? See, apparently it's debutant, but I reckon debutants.
Nah, debutants for high class, sophisticated people.
Yeah, people who walk out of the room and say au revoir. You know what I mean?
Not someone that mumbles their words like me, man.
Exactly right, man. Nah, but even thank you for reminding me. I was gonna mention it. There was a lot of debutants. I think it was the record amount of debutants in round one.
How many times can you say debutants in one sentence?
I could say it a few times. That's sure. I could, making we're a debutant. No, I can't. Debutant of Braeside.
Yeah. You just gave away our secret podcast location.
I know. Jeez,
we're effectively like Batman with this stuff, man.
Yeah, I know.
Now the coppers will be on us.
I know. We did just break into some random, industrial complex and just start recording. But anyway, look. Yeah, apparently this round, the highest attendance for a round one. So I guess it kind of shows that regardless of if opening round's there or not,
people like football.
They do. They do like footy, man. I think it's getting even probably more popular, to be honest,
I think
these
it
days.
Is, man.
But look, I don't know how long I can stall before giving you the floor.
Keep stalling, man.
Keep
forever.
stalling?
Nah.
So, debutants.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Carlton versus Richmond on Thursday night.
Yeah, that happened.
I went to that game, excited about, the new season, round one, you walk down Swan Street, the vibe's there, and everyone's talking about how Carlton is going to destroy Richmond. If only we had some way to see into the future, a couple of hours to see what was going to unfold. Look, man, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Look, obviously, a bit of the emotions out of it now because we're recording on a Monday. That was a Thursday, so a bit of time has passed, right?
Yeah.
But that can't take away from the fact that it was probably the worst performance I've maybe seen Carlton play ever since years ago when Brendan Bolton was coaching and Carlton was getting destroyed by GWS when GWS had 17 players on the field. I remember this time when the Giants had 17 players and they were up by 80 points and Josh Kelly was running through 3 different players. So that was a low point in the rebuild. 10 years later, we're still rebuilding and we just lost to a team that is rebuilding. Look, it's unforgivable, man. You can use a lot of different ways to describe that performance. Unforgivable, shocking, not good enough, no excuses, coach killer. And it's all those things, right? When something like that happens, you kind of look and think to yourself, you want a reaction. You want something what do we do now? And there isn't really an answer. The only thing I could think was storm the gates of Carlton, sack Michael Voss, throw him into the fire and move on. But we've done that 100 times with a bunch of other coaches. So obviously I didn't expect that to happen, even though he's going to be under fire this year if we underperform.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit about, I guess, what I build up. Obviously, Carlton was the favourite, but they weren't just favourite, man. $1.05. Richmond was $10.50.
That's
right?
crazy.
They were $50 to win in the second quarter. So Carlton, who's meant to be competing for the top 4, has lost to a team in round 1 that lost all of their experienced players, doesn't even have Noah Bolter playing, right? Has 3 debutants, has 5 players that have never won a game, was up by 41 points, and then for 3 quarters could not wrestle back momentum against Richmond. And Richmond, of all teams, made Carlton look so pathetically unprofessional and unskilled to the point where, because Richmond got all their goals off turnover. It wasn't from outplaying it. It was McGovern kicked it off the floor, or Nick Haynes dropped it and kept it in play.
Yeah.
It was just the most shocking thing you've ever seen. And honestly, from a Richmond perspective, maybe one of the biggest underdog performances ever. And what was interesting about being at the game was that Carlton and Richmond have a big rivalry and there's a bit of, giving each other smack over the years. This was one where the Richmond faithful were quite humble about where they were at. So there wasn't any like smack.
Yeah,
it wasn't like, haha, you guys suck, haha, this. It was just like Carlton expecting to win, Richmond expecting to lose. And as the game went on, Richmond guys going, what's going on? And Carlton going, what's going on? And they were in disbelief, the Tigers fans, and they looked at me when I left early with 5 minutes to go because I couldn't handle it, with pity. These guys looked at us with pity. And I remember leaving, getting up to go, I can't handle it anymore. I left. And I heard, when I did that, a lot of other Carlton fans did as well because they kicked the goal and it's like, oh, it's done. I can't believe it. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And I heard from the back a Tigers fan going, they're leaving. But not like he's in, nah. It wasn't that. It was like, oh my gosh, they're going. They're going. We've been to a point where they're going. Like, it was so disbelief. So it's just such an insane moment. Obviously, we're on the wrong end of it. Look, I think the biggest concern for me is a couple of things. First of all, Carlton obviously should have won, but for the last couple of years, we've been doing this really boring game style where we kind of win the contested ball but bomb it into the 50. And we bomb into the 50, it rebounds. We bomb into 50, it rebounds. And they've been doing that nonstop for 3 years, man. And I can't watch it happen anymore. It's a nightmare. Yeah. So this is the type of thing where you look at the coach and you go, is it the coach? Why can Carlton not find a way to kick goals in any other way, especially when they've got talented forwards? And you look at all the other games of the round, which we'll get to at some point, and none of these teams do that. Hawks always have space in the forward line. Collingwood has space in the forward line. All these teams have that. So the fact that Carlton can't find a way to do that is very worrying. And the other thing is, I don't think the Carlton Football Club can handle pressure. So a couple of years ago when they were at their lowest point, I think that they were very much struggling with the weight of expectations. And they managed to find a way to beat through that and run to the prelim. But what I saw is a Carlton team that were up, challenged by Richmond, and then started to panic that Richmond might get on top of them, and then they just fumbled to the point where they couldn't play anymore. So there's potentially a mentality issue with this team that has been going on for years, and I don't know whether it can be corrected. So, look, absolutely terrible. Heads have to roll from that, and this type of loss has the potential to derail our whole season.
Yeah, no,
it's one of those ones where it's not just like a loss or rebound next week. That's like, will they recover from this? I could see Carlton going 0-4. And then being in a position where they've got to claw their way back for the whole season and not get there off this one performance. So it's pretty terrible. I was walking from the stadium and I honestly thought, man, I wish I didn't have a podcast. That's how much they destroyed me because I got to come and talk about this shit.
Yeah, I know.
Week in, week out. I got to talk about other teams. Oh, the Hawks are good. Who gives a shit about the Hawks, man? I'm a Carlton man and my team sucks and they suck forever and they're going to suck forever. And it's just ridiculous, man. Right. So that's kind of my thoughts on Carlton. Just quickly on Richmond, I mean, they should have lapped that up. That would have been one of the best things that they've seen, and they deserve to enjoy that. And to see like Lawler and a couple of the other debutants play really, really well would have been really exciting. You can just see what a number one pick does.
Yeah,
like that's a number one pick. He just goes in. You can tell he doesn't have to feel the game. He just gets it, and you can see that that's what class is.
Yeah, and he's got the same Vegeta hairline as Dustin Martin. Yeah. He's shaved the head, like he's got the buzz cut now. It's meant to be, man.
He looks like him. He's even, you know, let the package out. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yes,
no.
that accidentally, you know, there was a bit of a, you know.
So he's got that dog in him as well. Is what you're trying to tell me. There we go.
Yeah, accidentally. So look, for a rebuilding team that was a team that you think, man, are these guys even going to win a game this year? To have already won one, think about the confidence and the boost that gives that team. Yeah. Imagine if that was an 80-point loss. The difference. It's complete opposite start to their season. So Richmond are on the flyer and Carlton are, in the pits. The one last thing I'll say is it seems like the media hasn't really gone on Carlton that hard.
Yeah,
over the weekend. Like I haven't heard a lot of like, wow, this is pathetic. This team sucks. How dare they? I've heard like from YouTube commentators and fans have said that, but it's almost like Carlton picked up the phone to like AFL 360 and said like, "Hey boys, take it easy."
Yeah, otherwise
or we'll slash your wallet.
Otherwise, defamation case. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Otherwise, we'll get our undefeated lawyers on you.
Bad.
So that was interesting, but yeah, that's all I'll say on that game.
Nah, fair enough. Look. A question posed by Dino, so I'm gonna like deflect, responsibility for this challenging question at an already challenging time for you.
Yeah, thanks.
You predicted when we did our ladder prediction. In your personal ladder, I think you had Carlton in the top 4.
I did, yeah.
Dino and I don't think we did. I think, and they ended up 6th or something like that, right?
Yeah.
What did you see? Like, what? How did you picture a top 4 happening?
Well,
like, what was the mentality? Like, what did you think? Okay, this is going to improve. We got this. We got that.
Well, there's a lot of things, man. Because the truth be told, Carlton was second in the ladder clear with 6 weeks left to go last season.
Yeah. Okay.
And we were putting teams to the absolute sword. Like I remember a game against Geelong. We beat them by 40 points, and in the last quarter we just kicked 8 goals in a row. Like, this team does have the ability to pile on goals, right? And I guess some of the improvement from some players that are injury prone, but have had good preseasons. Players like Williams and Fantasias and Sards and Cheras, who all have soft tissue history, looked good in the preseasons. You go, all right, a bit more consistency. Some players, are fit and firing. You shore up your defense with Haynes. It's all speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first game of the season, but I didn't think it was crazy to suggest that. And, that's also the club's internal expectations. Like, they actually came out and said that. Now,
that's fair.
It's not a skill thing that made Carlton lose to Richmond. So if it's not a skill thing because they can get up by 40 points in one quarter, what is it? Is it coaching? Are the players dumb? That I mean that as in, can they not find a way to play another way?
Yeah.
Do they not have natural football instincts to find a way to? Are they actually really overrated and not that skillful? Like,
they're just athletes. Is that what that is? That
what
it is?
What I'm saying is Carlton has a couple of incredible footballers, right?
Yeah.
And Wiedering is incredible. Cripps is incredible. Tom De Koning has become incredible.
Yeah.
Charlie Curnow, I think, is very, very special. Then you've got probably the next tier, which is Walsh is very good when fit. Harry Mackay is very good when kick is straight. Chera's decent. Sard's All-Australian. Right? So the next tier.
Yeah.
And then after that, man, any other player that you name is just overrated, I reckon.
Yeah. I think you're right, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Is there any individuals specifically where you're just like, all right, that's a shocker from you. You need to either get better or get out type guys?
Well, look, Haynes had a pretty bad game, but it's the first game. I don't know, man. Look, I think we've just got to wait and see a little bit. It'll be interesting. I think Hawks have probably come at a good time because we got them in a couple of days' time, and they're probably the best team in the comp at the moment.
Yeah.
If we come out and get absolutely pantsed by them by 60 points, real alarm bells.
Yeah, fair enough.
If we put in a good fight and play the right way, even if we lose, but we look good, then you go, all right, there's something in there.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we go, but I'm really worried about this team, and you just worry when you meant to have the talent there, and then unprofessional performances like this happen, and you think to yourself, what is the internal team? What is the organisation thinking, and what are they doing about this?
Yeah.
And small forwards are an issue. Well, why didn't they tackle that in the off-season? What do they think is going on? Now, the loss is also made worse by the fact that we've traded 2 draft picks in an extremely good draft for Jagger Smith, who's not going to play for the whole year.
Yeah, it sucks.
So if he came in... And let's say, obviously, you needed to win that game. Otherwise, there's no positives. But let's say we came in, won that game. Jagger Smith got 25 and kicked the goal. How good are you feeling about yourself?
Yeah,
we don't get to see this kid for a year when all Murphy Reed, Lawler, Lindsay, all these players are coming in and just destroying straight away.
Yeah,
that makes it even worse. Houston, which we'll get to, annihilated his old team, and we could have had him. So that makes it even worse. But
fair enough.
Probably enough Carlton talk.
Yeah, we got to get a little bit about Richmond, right? So I think amazing feat, just to say the least. But I got to say, it's the random dudes that I didn't expect that sort of really brought it. Like Ross had the best game of his career by far. All of a sudden, this dude, I'm watching him move, and I'm like, wow, dynamic, as a player in the mid. Thompson Dow, another player. Those understated dudes who we don't really know too much about because, let's be fair, we don't really expect anything of them. We're expecting to see the good things from, the Lawlers and Smileys and those type of higher, players that we're going to be talking about a bit more as they're coming into the system.
Yeah.
But look, they're shout out to Richmond, man. I didn't know when they were going to win a game this year, and they've done it now, straight away, you know. So all of a sudden, everything's just, everything for them is just like it's a bonus, I reckon. Man.
And make no mistake, as I said as well, that's incredible performance. That's a performance that Tigers fans will remember for a long time, and the debutants that won, that is a first game to win and remember for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes the Carlton thing worse is yes, we praise Richmond for that, but make no mistake, these guys are the bottom team or the second bottom team in this comp.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I agree.
So it's not like, oh, well, Richmond are going to be better. No, they've won that, but like you've still lost to the Wooden Spooners. Make no mistake.
Yeah.
So
True.
It's pretty messed up.
Yeah. I'm assuming you missed the backflip live then, right?
I missed the backflip.
Yeah.
I saw. Look, that goal. I was a kilometre down Swan Street. I could hear the roar. These guys were as loud as the F1s, man.
That's insane. Yeah. How was the F1, by the way?
Yeah, it was good. Oh, thanks for bringing that up because I saw Mark Murphy at the F1.
Yeah, well, there we go.
So I get to the F1.
Did you go up to him and go, hey, bro, what the hell just happened?
Well, I wanted to talk to him, man, but he wasn't interested. So like I was walking around with my brother, and we were trying to find where we were meant to go, and we couldn't. We went to the wrong place. It was so hot. I was starting to hallucinate. I didn't have a hat. It was a whole thing.
Oh wow!
I didn't have a hat because my main hat is a Carlton hat, and I was too embarrassed. I was like, stuff you, Carlton. You can't be wearing Carlton merchandise this weekend.
No, you can't. That's
it was so embarrassing. I've never been more embarrassed as a Carlton fan.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Understandable.
Like, it was pathetic. So I don't have a hat. I'm like, oh my God, if we don't find where we're meant to go, I'm going to die. And then like Mark Murphy comes out like almost like an angel, and he was wearing white, dude. He was wearing like a white linen fit.
He was like an oasis.
Yeah. And I'm like, Mark Murphy. And then he's like, oh, hey, bro. And he kind of gave me one of those like taps. And just kept walking. He was lost as well. And I don't know whether seeing Mark Murphy on the weekend was like symbolic of something.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see any other famous people.
What? Really? At the F1?
Like, I didn't see any like football players or anything like that. I mean, there was F1 people, but I didn't see any like, randoms.
Yeah. No,
so Mark Murphy was the only guy being ex-Carlton captain after Carlton suffered their worst defeat maybe he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And he walks right past me looking like an angel, but giving me nothing. Is there something in that? Like, comment down below if you think there's something in that signing of Mark Murphy.
Yeah.
Did I even see him?
Yeah. Look,
was he even there?
Yeah, was he actually there? I see what you mean. It's like the promise of something amazing, but then ends up just making you feel flat.
Yes.
Don't meet your heroes type situation.
Yeah.
And Carlton, the parallel between that and Carlton's promising so much and then losing to Richmond.
What I'm saying,
I see what you mean. I can see
there's some. I don't think this is a coincidence, bro.
No, this is legit, man. This is legit. I'm glad I brought that up now, actually.
I would have forgotten to mention that.
Yeah, well, there you go. I want to say just a quick one. Trainer and the way, I think, was it an intercept that he did? I remember there was a play that he made right towards the end of the game where it was just like, wow, good on you, kid.
Yeah, he fit in well.
He fit in well. And, Lawler as well. We just need to,
the other forward, was it Armstrong?
Armstrong. Yeah, good pressure on from the kid, So, look, I just want to say they're debutants, man. Shout out to them quickly. So, on to the next game. So, this one makes us feel a little bit better, I'm sure, for you. A little bit of
Let the record show that Dean thought that Dons were a chance.
Yeah, and you know what, man? Look, the scoreboard would suggest that they did stand a chance, but honestly, they didn't.
No.
Like, you watch, the story of the game is just a consistent Hawthorn just absolutely demolishing them on counter-attacks and just, just pinpoint footy going forward.
Yeah.
And Essendon, towards the end of the game, that's when they sort of decided, all right, now we'll start to, try to play a little bit. But yeah, no, honestly, like I can't really give them any credit for that. Was it 26 point,
Well,
margin.
They kept fighting. So Hawks would smash them, and then Essendon would fight back. But they'd never get to the point where the margin was ever something to be concerned about.
No.
Because the Hawks would kick again, and then Essendon would fight back. And I think the third resurgence was the late one that you talk about, where that's the one where they looked the most likely, because they're probably the most desperate.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hawthorn, look, they've won 2 games now. They're probably potentially the best team in the comp at the moment. The way that just the juxtaposition of Carlton's performance to Hawks than last night, the next night where pinpoint football, changed the angles, so much space in their forward line. They got the wizard one out, taking like marks. Like you don't need some superstar Coleman medalist to actually kick goals in your forward line, man. You just have to create space and give them kicks to advantage.
Yeah, I need to say something about Nick Watson right now that you brought him up. I can't remember exactly what friend of the pod JL said in the group chat, where he said, that he's a better version of Brent Harvey or whatever he said, some sort of joke like that. But Dino had also, when we did draft content like 2 years ago for Nick Watson, he said Brent gives me Boomer Harvey vibes in the TikTok that we made, and our thing has gone away. There we go. It's back. It's back, guys. Anyway, so Dino mentioned that Boomer Harvey vibes, and where I saw it was in the play where he I think he shrugged someone off. He gave it a little bit of a don't argue, and then shrugged another tackle within the same play, and it led to a goal. In that moment where he had that low center of gravity, strength that I didn't expect to see from him, that reminded me of Boomer Harvey, to be honest with you. And that can only be so exciting for freaking Hawks fans, man. Yeah. Shout out to him, man. Maybe they do have the next Boomer, man. Will he move into the midfield at some point and start, being damaging? Maybe. I don't know if you need to do that because you kind of you need him in the forward line. Yeah. Like he's kicking set shots, he's taking marks, it
looks very, very clean.
Yeah.
So does a lot of the elements of their team.
100%, man. Like, so no, I had to get that one out there, mate. He looked so good. Well, he ended up kicking 3 goals, and he missed a bit of the game as well because he got winded. That looked painful, to be honest.
100%.
But yeah, and then you pair that up with Dylan Moore as well.
Yeah.
That's 2 of the best half forwards, or small forwards in the game, and they both can, pinch hit in the middle. I reckon if you need them to, they haven't asked that responsibility of Nick Watson yet, but I'm sure he could. Yeah. Dylan Moore does get his fair share in the middle.
Look, they're just an even contributing team, and they seem to have talent everywhere. And every game you play, you highlight a different player.
Exactly, yeah.
So they're quite even. They got their emerging stars as well, and they don't really seem to have a weakness because they can play fast, they can change the angles, they can put that hammer down, they can hold, and push up against a team's momentum and just restrict the goals. So they can really do everything. And I mean, have they won 2? Yeah, they've won 2 games.
Yeah, they won the 2 games, man. And see, like the interesting thing with this game, right, is say a Sicily, for example, they didn't even need to put him up forward. They didn't even need to go, oh man, we're lacking height. Even though Essendon have quite a relatively tall defense. Like you got Mackay and Zach Reid who have height. They didn't even need to, send someone down there to be a marking target because Chol was enough.
Yeah.
And then you've got Kel Shadir at some point to come back. And,
well, even Finn McGuinness, I think he's actually quite a good player.
Yeah, he's physically imposing. He's quick.
He's kind of.
He was taking marks.
I didn't think he was he's just kind of started as a tagger, and I thought he was just a tagger. But now he's taking contested marks in the forward line, providing an option. They're just finding more and more players.
It's crazy, man. It is crazy. I think Essendon actually tried to poach him.
Really?
I don't know if it was this off season or the previous one or whatever. So they did try to poach him. And was it the first goal? Was the guy got poached from Essendon? D'Ambrosio got poached from Essendon.
Yeah.
Did he kick the first goal, or am I imagining it? It was an early goal. I'm pretty sure he kicked an early goal. Man,
that'd be spewing missing D'Ambrosio. He's a gun.
He's so much better than a lot of the dudes that they're running back there. Like I like Archie Roberts, right? Like I like his drive and his effort, but I'd much rather have D'Ambrosio in there. I'd much rather have D'Ambrosio than Pryor. All those halfback winger dudes.
Well, they got who does. Look, they got Nick Martin. I guess you can play half forward, half back, and wing. They got Andrew McGrath, who for a number 1 pick is a bit underwhelming.
He might be one of the worst number 1 picks in ages, bro. Actually, I'll calm that down. There's been John Patton and and Boyd and stuff, but I know, look, for a dude who's still playing for number 1
for a dude that won Rising Star.
Yeah, true. That that's true. Who else went in that draft? McCluggage was after that, and then Taranto. Yeah. So McCluggage was the pick of the lot, really.
McCluggage is the best.
Yeah.
Taranto has played some good football, but no, McCluggage is the best player.
He's not stylish, Taranto.
No.
You know what I mean? He's just not. I don't know what it is with him, but
it's funny looking back at some drafts and it's just weak.
Yeah, no,
it's just weak, man.
Yeah, I need to have a look. Maybe I have to do a redraft of that one, and I can have more people roasting me for my bad selections.
You're always going to get roasted, man. Yeah. But look, if you want to talk about Essendon a bit, do you feel like they've changed much from last season? Did you see anything that makes you go, "Oh, that's different"?
Redmond went into the middle for some reason. Yeah. That was weird. I didn't like that at all. Look, I got to say, if I'm going to say a positive thing out of them is Caldwell sort of going where he left off from last season. That dude's electric, man.
Man, I wrote it down, 36 disposals, 11 tackles, 1 goal, 17 contested possessions, 10 clearances.
Yeah. If you're going to build your midfield around someone, it's that guy.
He's their inside grunt player. Merritt, you can play a bit more outside. He's got the skill.
Yeah.
But it's still 2 players.
Yeah, exactly.
Durham's okay. Yeah. Who else do they really have?
Look, Tsatas was disappointing, let's be fair. I thought that he was going to be, they showed the photos of him doing the the row, like a wide grip row in, on Twitter or whatever, on all their socials, and his back looked huge. And you're thinking, oh, he's 189 centimeter, big body mid.
Is he that tall?
He's a relatively tall young kid. I'll tell you now how tall he is. I'm sure I can bring up his height quickly. He's 187. So he's not super, super tall, but like, when, taller than 6 foot, he's doing the wide grip row, and his back's looking like toned and defined. He wasn't imposing by any means.
No.
And he didn't look like he was ready for the level like we saw in the preseason, and that sucks for them.
Yeah.
And he's also created a bit of a problem for me, super coach wise. Do I get rid of him or do I keep him another round? I don't know what I'm going to do there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have got those issues, unfortunately.
Yeah, I reckon so. Durham should just give him more time in there. To be honest with you, I
think he has to play inside.
Yeah, he played a bit of. Actually, no, he wasn't the inside. I'm looking at the stats here. He was. I don't know. There's not much there, man. Midfield wise,
they've got a weird. They've almost recruited quite poorly as well, Essendon, because Hobbs, Archie Perkins, Nick Cox, these type of players are meant to be getting midfield time and not. And I've got to stop that alarm.
We've got to stop that alarm. Sorry, we'll edit. You know what? Nah, this is my chance to talk about my Supercoach team. So, look, with the team, we did all right, considering the fact that we didn't pick Baz. We ended up on a 2-1-8-9 or something like that. And I'll take that. One of the big positives was in the defense. I went with Whitfield and Zorko. Both of them went 120 plus, as we'd expect. So, yeah, look, that was probably more interesting than talking about Essendon.
Let the record show that I pipped Matza in Supercoach round 1.
Nah, he did. And
that's probably not going to happen again, so I'm
just
going to gloat for now.
Look, shout out to you, man. You picked Bailey Smith, you know what I mean? And I didn't, so that's...
pick the cokehead.
That is it. Pick the cokehead. I didn't expect you to say that. But yeah, look, I reckon we'll move on to the next game, man.
Let's do it.
I'm bored of talking about Essendon, and we know how good Hawthorn are. So this game, another interesting one, and I was talking about the draft videos that I used to do, right? And one guy who I brought up in my draft video, and now I wish I could put him higher on the list. Stats won't say that he was absolutely incredible, right? But he managed a goal, one. Wasn't super incredible in the stats department. But Shannon Neal, bro.
Yeah.
He's a guy, man. He's a guy. He's a dude, physically imposing. He jumps up for everything. And when he takes a mark, he'll get it and he'll move quickly. It's great to watch, He knows the game plan, Great system player. I predicted Geelong first when we did our prediction.
Looks pretty good now.
I feel better about it, I'll tell you that, because Freo were meant to be a good team. They were meant to be... Did we have them top 4? Or at least, we had them at least in the 8.
I think they were 8th.
Yeah. Mate, they got smacked by them big time.
Yeah. It's hard to know exactly what went wrong for Freo, other than the fact that the pressure, like Geelong had over 40 more tackles, and they won by a massive amount. And really, they dominated the whole game. If it wasn't for a little purple patch from our boy, Murphy Reid.
Mate, that is friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod, Murphy Reid.
Dean's boy in this draft. Friend of the pod, Murphy Reid.
He was I think this only highlight of that Freo performance. And
I agree.
That was a 4-goal patch of momentum that gave Freo a little bit of a comeback in this game. But other than that, they got annihilated.
Yeah, I want to say quickly about Murphy Reid's 4 goals. We went to the game, the North Bulldogs game, which I'll talk about later. And so Dino comes past, and we've got the game on, watching Freo, and it felt like as soon as he came in, Murphy Reid puts in 1 goal, and we're like, oh, Dino's boy, look at this, man, your boy. And the second goal was like, oh, look, he's done another one. That's mad. The third goal, we're losing our minds. Yeah. We're like, no, this can't be happening, man. And then the fourth was just like, it was delirium. You know what I mean?
I wish I saw that live, because I was checking the stats.
Yeah.
But I wasn't watching that at that time. But I always check fan footy, because I can't not watch Supercoach scores. Like if I don't, I get twitchy, right? And I just saw like a boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And then I saw later that it was a 4-goal spree. Imagine seeing that live, man.
Oh, mate. It was good, man. It felt good. Look, and the thing is with him, he was on like -9 at one point. And I'm like, look, man, I can see the upside, but he's just not quick enough for the level just yet. Yeah. All of a sudden, he just made me look dumb with that.
He looks like a smart player, because all of those goals were him finding space in the forward line and getting to the right spots. It wasn't like he took contested marks or like did a triple somersault or something like that. He just was like at the right fall of the ball.
Exactly
and,
right. Yeah.
And I don't think he was respected by Geelong. because they're probably like, "Who's this kid?"
Yeah, no, probably, you know. And he does look like a kid, you know, with the long hair and, you know, baby face. But shout out to Murphy Reed. But look, Geelong, the style of play and the heavy intensity and the tackling pressure and this and that, I feel like Bailey Smith he's arrived into the team that was just built for him.
Yeah.
Because he's a dude, I feel like he's one of those dudes, he can't really turn it down. You know what I mean? No. He's just go. And I've talked about this in the past. I hate watching him play because he just picks up the ball and then he just starts sprinting. Yeah, and I hate it.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, but now
he's headless chook, man.
He's a headless chook footballer.
Yeah.
But it fits him perfectly right now because this heavy intensity, tackling, pressure, and Geelong always seems to be first to the ball. In any scenario, they always seem to be first to the ball. So he can just butcher it forward and he ends up with score involvements and goal assists because, you know, there's always a Geelong guy there.
Also, they've got such a potent forward line that he could probably just bomb it in. And that's actually the one team that you could bomb it in and just make it work.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like it works. So it used to work for you guys, you know, when Curnow and Mackay are all at full force, you know. But like, you know, so you go Cameron and Neil plus small forwards who are good.
Yeah, really
Stengel, really good. Yeah. So it's like, man, it's the perfect marriage for him, you know, to rock up at Geelong. And, you know, it's good to see because he's an exciting player. You know, we want to see him doing well. You know, shout out to you for picking him in Supercoach. I didn't.
Yeah.
Look, I regret.
Look, we didn't get to see him in the preseason. You know, he had a little bit of a niggle with the knee, but he's come out firing, so good on him. And like even players like, he's bolstered the midfield so much, but even someone like Max Holmes is going to take his game to next level again this year. So Geelong just pisses me off because they find a way to reinvent themselves every year and they can look like they're too old and they're all ancient. And then 2 years later, they're in premiership contention again after just winning one.
Yeah.
Like that's an organisation, man.
Oh, yeah. And talk about too old. Dangerfield in the forward line looked great.
Yeah,
he looked great. He looked like, you know, just fleet-footed and, you know, and ready to go and he's making tackles, taking marks. He was great as well.
Players play for too long at the moment, man. I'm sick of seeing Dangerfield and side bottom, bro. These guys were like playing football when I was like 6 years old, man.
Bro, it's like, imagine that, but imagine in the NBA, LeBron James is 40, bro.
Yeah.
And he's still one of the best players in the league.
It's insane.
Can you imagine if Dangerfield was still like ripping it out of the midfield in Brownlow contention?
Do you reckon maybe Dangerfield is doing the Zorko with the acupuncture?
Maybe.
Do you reckon all those old blokes, Pendlebury, side bottom, Travis Boak,
all together?
They're just all just acupuncture together.
Maybe. Look, that might work. Look, I think I have to try acupuncture just so I can because Zorko's provided me so much joy in the first round of Supercoach. I think I need to give it a shot and see what the go is. Because obviously it must work, man. I don't know. We'll see. If I ever meet Dangerfield in real life, I'll ask him like, bro, how do you stay?
You're not going to get to ask him, man. He's just going to walk right past you like.
Yeah, true. He'll give me a little tap like, I'm Dangerfield. I'm Mark Murphy.
Yeah, I am Dangerfield. Yeah. Are you Dangerfield? Thank you. Like the Beyonce.
I haven't seen that. I gotta suss that out.
Let's move to Sydney, Brisbane. I reckon.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think anything else I want to really mention there. Sam De Koning did really good in the midfield. Matched it with Luke Jackson. He got like 25 disposals.
It did, yeah,
which is crazy. So,
what is this guy's role?
I don't know. He's another midfielder, bro. He's another midfielder. Yeah. Other than that, you know, we can move on to the next one. So yeah, Sydney, Brisbane. Now look, the first quarter I feel of this game was boring to me. I don't know what it was.
Sydney dominated.
Yeah, Sydney dominated, but it seemed scrappy. The sun sucks for this game. I don't know what it is. This time like time slot in Sydney, and there's too much red, and you know it just something about it was displeasing on the eye. But look, it was fun to see two teams really go at it. You know, two of the better teams. You know, clash and you know keep it competitive to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, and it's interesting again. We're talking about old people. Dane Zorko was the guy. You know, I feel like he was kind of the X factor when they moved him a bit more into the forward line.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden, you know, he's dangerous, you know, in a part of the ground that counts a bit more. Another older guy, we'll say, Dunkley. I've said this a few times on the pod. He's the most underappreciated player in the game, especially awards-wise. He's never been an All-Australian.
Yeah, he's very good.
I think he's player of the round, to be honest with you. Like, who beat him?
Potentially.
Yeah, like, just on Supercoach, I think he did. He get his
probably,
player of the round.
Probably the highest rated player of the game, of the round, yeah.
Yeah, but he just does everything so well, like as an inside midfielder. He does everything you want to do there, plus he marks as well. You know what I mean? And he's a big option down, as a marking target. So he did incredible, man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, the Lions are just stacked. That's the grand final rematch. They've won again, obviously in the tight one.
Levi was impressive.
Yeah.
He got plenty of the ball. And we thought he was going to be the sub, but then was it Charlie Cameron was the laid out. So, good for him. He got a full game. I guess like the issues with them now is they lost Charlie Cameron. I don't know what the go is with that. I don't know if that was just a little niggle. Waiting on what's happening on with Lohman. That looked bad, like his ankle. So, in a tackle from Roberts. So hopefully that's not too concerning for them. And, he'll come back. But I don't know. That could be the only issue with this game now, apart from, it being a great win, might be a little bit of a double-edged sword.
Potentially. Sydney,
Yeah.
were you worried about them at all? 0-2. The first two good teams.
Yeah.
They've been in this kind of position before. I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, I think I'm curious to see, how much Callum Mills comes in and helps them out. Does that sort of settle their midfield a bit more? Because I think, let me have a look. Clearance-wise, they got beaten again. Not by a lot, but I think Callum Mills will sort of balance the ledger. I think we talked about it last week. With Dano. Were you did you do the video with us last week? It was all together. Yeah, it was all together. Yeah. So we were there. A player that I actually really liked for them. I think he's had this week specifically was excellent. Right, Braden Campbell.
Yeah.
I think
He's a great player.
he is. Look, so 2 goals and I think it was 7 tackles from a dude who's a halfback who I thought, he's got a good kick, but he doesn't. I don't think he's the best mover, and Roberts sort of replaced him in that role. All of a sudden, gets repositioned forward, and he's embraced the role, and he's able to kick goals. He's able to bring pressure. He's doing what he needs to do, from that perspective. So I think they found a decent little option in their forward line there, which is cool.
I've always rated him quite highly. I think he's the type of guy that can play in many different positions. I think Sydney's issue really is just their tools at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that like McDonald wasn't playing. I mean, Francis is injured. They've got McCartan playing forward. It's just they don't look settled in either end. And I'm sure they'll find some sort of solution for it.
Yeah, well,
as the season goes on. They even debuted this guy called Bice.
Riley Bice, he came on and just went nuts with the for Supercoach anyway.
Yeah, he played quite well. Subbed out for Patton. I don't know if Patton will. Probably Bice looked more likely than Patton, to be honest.
Well, Bice provides drive. He's one of those Werribee guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like anyone you get from Werribee is going to be a gun. You know what I mean? So, I'm looking at the goal tally right now for Sydney. I'm digressing a little bit, but so 2 for Chad, 2 for Campbell, 2 for Heaney, 2 for Corey, right? And then a goal to Hanley, Lloyd, Hayward, and only 1 goal from a tall in Tom McCartan.
Well, that's
a problem.
That's right, but that's what Sydney was doing, like with the Goulden, Chad Warner, Heaney situation last year from the start of the season to middle of the season. Those guys were putting up historic numbers.
Yeah,
that was like a complete carry performance from the midfield. So those players are still there. Goulden will come back, but because they're goal kicking mids, they're actually supplementing a lot of the goals that the forwards are meant to be kicking.
Yeah, true.
Papley, I don't think was Papley playing.
Papley?
I don't remember seeing him.
I'm sure I saw him play. I'm sure I saw him play, man. But yeah, nah. They do have, it's all right. Even if he wasn't, they have mini version in Hanley, apparently. No, Papley did play, but why did he? Did he? I'm looking at him right now. He only had 19 fantasy, bro. What did he do, bro?
Yeah.
Was he playing? Like, was he? He got 19 more fantasy points than me.
I didn't feel like I saw him. So
yeah, unsighted.
Yeah, look, Sydney will work their way into the season. They played 2 good teams and they just lost to Brisbane, but that's clearly the area that they need to work on. So
yeah, fair
see
enough.
if they can replace or find some options in forward 50, and they'll get some players back as well.
Yeah. All right. So we'll move on to a more entertaining game. We could say a game that I went to.
Bottled your chance, man, for an early win.
100%. I just realised they're writing Footscray versus North Melbourne on the AFL website. So is that a rebranding from? Oh, you know what it is? 100 years. For 100 years, they must be rebranding themselves to Footscray. But anyway, that's fine. Look, for North, we go in
A lot of kinks with this new studio, mate.
I know, man. This new old studio. Look, it's a huge missed opportunity. Honestly, like in the first quarter, we go down like 6-1 or whatever it was. Which honestly, that's poor to start with. The pressure just wasn't there from us. We're making mistakes. Their goals were coming off turnover, which is probably the most frustrating thing. And the first one specifically was a Caleb Daniel miss kick of all things. Yeah. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, Ed Richards, it falls into the lap of him who smacks it from 50. Probably the best player to get the ball. Him or Bailey Dale. And here's another one who's letting off the chain as well. I think he got 2 goals. So look, for us, when you look at the statistics, and I'll bring them up now. So like clearances, we won. Hit-outs, of course, we won. Contested possessions, uncontested possessions, we had more turnovers, of course. Look, we marks higher, inside 50s higher, contested marks the same. Look, we matched them, if not beat them, when it comes to, the game of footy, but it was like bad kicking, so gifting them goals. There was a couple that were gifted to them by the umpires as well, whatever. Yeah, it's just very much a missed opportunity from us. I think the thing I'm curious about, right, this is a little bit from the Bulldogs' perspective, and it links with North as well. Charlie Comben got destroyed by Sam Darcy, and I don't think so. Darcy ended up with 1 goal. I can imagine he must have had quite a few score involvements. I'll have a look now. He had 9 score involvements, no direct assists, which I'm surprised with, but Common was nowhere near him when it comes to, the marking contest, and I don't know, is Common just that bad a defender, like as a lockdown defender, or is it just Sam Darcy's just going to be this ridiculous player for the rest of the season and everyone's going to struggle to maintain him?
Could be both.
Yeah. So like, look, I know it's, it reads as 1 goal 1, but everyone can see the impact that Sam Darcy was making. It was,
that's interesting.
It was crazy. So Comben, that was probably like the worst game that he's played since he's moved to the defense. Like dominated by Sam Darcy, and then also his decision making is just like, and his ball use is horrible, man. It's just we shouldn't be putting the ball into his hands. He should be looking for Caleb Daniel. He should be looking for Foss. Someone should be running around him at all times because he's the weak link.
One of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. At the moment, it's looking pretty bad. But look, I still have faith that he can be a top-notch player. I don't know if it's in the defense, though. If he can't be a lockdown and if he's bad with kicking, I don't know what it is. Maybe when Jack Darling, who was a positive in my opinion, eventually gets moved on, he can just take that role. You know what I mean? Which might be the case. Positives for North. The pressure after we sucked in the first quarter was amazing, and that's what brought us into the game. Don't know why it wasn't there from the start, but that's all right. Nick Larkey he had a little bit of injury concerns before the game. You could see from the second half onwards, he was just like any chance he got, he was stretching the calves. You know what I mean? He still managed to kick 5 goals. So it just shows how potent of a guy he is. I think he puts his hand up for the Coleman this year, with that type of performance. Constanti, no goals from this small forward, but I reckon he was just about the most impressive of our debutants.
Yeah.
The pressure up the field, like I feel like it started with him a lot of the time. Like imagine, so this is the super coach talking. He's got 74 with no goals.
Yeah.
That obviously is showing that he's doing some things right. And it was a few free fours, holding the balls. There was some decent kicking up the line and using the ball well. I was really impressed by him. Paul Curtis popped in with 3 goals right at the end, which was nice as well.
Yeah, I think he's quite a good player.
Oh, he's a very good player, man. I'm very impressed with him. Look, it's just there. It feels it's a numb feeling because we played well. We did what we should have done, but just those little things, the no pressure at the start of the game and poor kicking means we lose to a weakened Bulldogs team we should beat. So it's really frustrating. But look, shout out to the doggies. Bailey Dale, he's just a weapon. His kicking is a weapon down back. Joel Frazier, seeing him in person, he's very impressive.
Yeah.
He's we expected him as like maybe a sort of like a loose type guy in defense, but he came up the ground. He played a bit of midfield, and he belongs, man. He's an athlete. He's a good player. Matt Kennedy as well. That's why you bring that guy in, because all of a sudden you lose, Treloar and Bont, and you just have a solid, big-bodied midfielder ready to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, look, it's disappointing. That's all I'll say. Like,
what's interesting is maybe to put a little bit of pressure back on you guys, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because of all the coaches that I thought were going to be under pressure this week, Alistair Clarkson's starting to get a little bit of commentary of, is he under pressure from some of those shows that come over the weekend. And one thing that they mentioned, which I wouldn't have guessed, is the Dogs actually, as a total, had less experience than North for games played than I think. Now, I know that someone like Jack Darling might influence that type of thing, but there's some older players for Bulldogs as well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't by much. But let's just say they were a little bit less experienced or almost equal. You're talking about two teams that are actually almost in the same path of experience.
Yeah.
Look, does that change the way you kind of view that game a little bit?
Look, not really. And the reason for that is that it was Darling's first AFL game for North. It was Caleb Daniels' first AFL game for North. It was Luke Parker's first AFL game for North.
Yeah.
And for them, they had two debutants as well to sort of balance the ledger back to their way. I'm not really, I don't really think that makes me change my thinking at all, to be honest with you, because it's different with, there's having a young team like age and games wise, and then there's young in regards to like the way the whole team plays together. So I'm not really going to take that in. I think that's just people looking at stats and being like, oh, look at this, when it really means nothing to me, to be honest with you. But yeah, look, to be honest, I don't think the Bulldogs, I don't think they're going to be that good this year, to be honest with you.
I think that might be all right, man. Like, if you think about who's missing, like Jamara has obviously got issues, but like say he's missing from the team. Treloar, Bont, potentially the best player in the comp.
Yeah.
Cody Waitman, very good small forward.
I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to turn it around. You know what? With Darcy and Bont and Treloar coming back, those type of dudes, fair enough, man. Like, I want to see what Darcy...
Liam Jones.
Yeah, that's a big out.
Like, there's a lot of players missing,
I didn't think of that, actually.
A lot of players missing.
I'm curious to see what happens now with Darcy for the rest of the season. Does Comben suck, or is he just like an absolutely unplayable monster? We'll see how that goes. The 3 weeks to Jackson Archer is getting challenged. What's your thoughts on that, by the way?
Look, I always get this stuff wrong when I look at it. I can never tell. I thought it was a bit reckless. But at the same time, I don't know, man. I find it very hard to judge this stuff. Anytime a player's action does a lot of damage to the opponent, it's always going to get looked at.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Look,
to be honest, I don't know, because anytime I say should get off, they get like 6 weeks, and anytime I say it's bad, they get off.
Yeah,
I've got no judgment for this type of stuff.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is for me is obviously Jackson Archer's going in. It is reckless, but at the same time, was the below the knee rule, does that not exist? Right? I actually think both players kind of did the wrong thing in a way, where one goes in, dives in for the footy, and doesn't, like, he kind of goes low, right?
Yeah.
Jackson Archer doesn't go low either. He's kind of like on the opposite end. He's running in, standing basically, instead of kind of crouching down. Both of them are kind of in the wrong in a way, right? Like, I actually don't think there was a call being. I couldn't remember hearing a whistle or a call. I don't think the umpires knew how to rule that one, because honestly, when you look at a player going into below the knees of Jackson Archer, you think, oh, that could be a free kick to Jackson Archer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now that the fact that he got absolutely like destroyed, right? Yeah. Poor kid, shout out to Cleary. We hope he's all right. Is what made it, it's Jackson Archer's fault. So I think it's a bit 50-50, to be honest with you. Maybe it's 60-40, Jackson Archer's fault, 60.
I don't think he'll get off from his suspension. Maybe if it reduces a week, maybe, but yeah.
No, we don't have Carlton lawyers, mate.
You've got to have Carlton lawyers, man. The one thing Carlton does well is the law.
Oh yeah. Next game we can talk about is Ken Hinkley starting off, his final season with an absolute banger. That's
this is almost. Is it more embarrassing than Carlton's loss?
Probably
not.
I don't think so.
Probably not. But
it's
a 91-point loss round one to a team that's meant to be at your level.
Yeah, disgustingly bad.
Yeah,
that's like it's the type of performances that Essendon were doing at the end of last season.
Yeah,
that type of vibe. You know what I mean? Where it's just no effort, no fight towards the end.
But there was like literally no effort, man.
Yeah, no, exactly right. That's it. It was
which
disgusting.
is like it's hard to watch. I don't think many people were watching at that point, to be honest. But that was the most one-sided. Anytime you turn it on, you switch from the North game to that one, and you just see like Finlayson just like watch like spectator sport. People running by him. What in the world, man?
Nah, it was disgusting.
To be crucified by Houston.
And I know, of all people, man.
Then, to be honest, Kane Cornes has some weird takes sometimes, but a lot of times he's actually quite spot on. He was volcanoing the fact that after Port got destroyed, they all waited around for Dan Houston to finish his off-field interview or on-field interview, and then to shake all his hands. I agree with that's. Like this guy, I get he's your friend, man, but you guys just got pants. Surely there's something goes, all right, we've just got pants.
We'll talk to him later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll shake
This
his
is not the
hand
moment to like, shake the guy and congratulate him for annihilating us. Thank you, Dan Houston, for destroying us, disgracing our team, getting suspended last season and not playing the finals.
You're right. There's that
breaking your contract, giving us Rory Atkins and Jack Lukosius who do nothing in response, and then like pantsing us in our first game, disgracing us, making us look terrible, putting Ken Hinkley on the spotlight again. Thank you, Dan. He's like, what in the world, bro?
Crazy, man. 89% disposal efficiency. He just ripped them up, man. He ripped them up.
Look, Port, like, I don't know, man. I'd like to see what they respond with next week. I mean, they're clearly a better team than that, or maybe they're not. But look, also the thing is, the Pies had a bit to prove because they looked pretty poor the week before. Criticisms on them looking slow, not being able to handle the pressure. They reversed that 180. But yeah, I mean, that's such a one-sided game. It's beyond belief, really.
Yeah. No, look, I think it gives them a little bit of confidence now as well in the forward line that they've managed to conjure up. So they bring in Membry, Collingwood, who I remember thinking, I feel like he's one of those dudes, him and Darling. I feel like everyone sort of thought, oh man, these are old forwards, they're kind of washed. But it's like when these dudes are still putting up the numbers, like he had 10 marks in this game. You know what I mean? And Darling on the North Melbourne end, he, is high tackle count for, big guys. These older dudes, man, I think like you were saying earlier, the footy life is just getting extended and extended, Yeah. So, like you would think an undersized key forward like Membry would be done, but nah, he 4 goals for him.
It's one of the first times I've seen like Collingwood stats and like their keys being up there.
Yeah, true. I guess look, maybe it's easy when it
is easy.
There's no effort.
Points,
when there's no effort from the other team, it does.
But it definitely makes their team look a bit more balanced though if they've got a secondary option.
Yeah, and look, so they've got 3 key forwards right now. So Membry, McStay, Myercheck, 4 goals, 3 goals, 3 goals, respectively. But like if one goes down, you still got 2 of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's it's looking a lot better for him actually. And even then, I'm looking down 2 goals for Elliott, 2 goals for Hill. Man, that forward line just went crazy.
Yeah,
they feasted. That'd have been fun for him, man.
100%.
And it'd feel good after getting smacked up last week. So they've sort of just balanced it out now. I think we think Collingwood's a good team again. I feel vindicated that I thought they were going to have a bounce back and be a top 4 team.
They'll be all right, man. They'll be right. And I think Port could be the type of team that slips out of the 8. I think.
Yeah, I think we did have them slipping out of the 8.
I mean, not everyone can make it. We'll talk about the next game very, very soon with the Crows, but I think maybe they're a type of team that can take that spot. Someone has to come out.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It looks like it's Carlton and Port at this point.
Sorry, bro.
We'll see how we go.
But yeah, nah. So speaking of, the Crows, they just did what they needed to do against the Saints. Look, I was talking, friend of the pod, Chris, we're talking about the Sainers, and shout out to him as well. He's become a father too, so shout out to him.
The Saints just got another supporter.
Yeah, no, the Saints just got another supporter, which they really needed.
10.
Look, I hope that this team, when the kid can actually start, recognizing what's going on in the footy, hopefully they can, get better by then. So maybe it's better that they're having their bad period now. But anyway, look, he was telling me, it's like, is it a bad thing that I just don't watch, the last quarter, quarter and a half of these games?
I think it is a bad thing.
I think more so, like, it's a bad thing. It's a bad sign on the club.
Yes.
But is it acceptable from the fan perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think the reason for it, right, in a game like this specifically, there's no Philippou, there's no Travaglia, and there's no Tauru. As a North supporter, I know how it feels that you watch week in, week out, so you can watch the young guys do well and see what they can do and get them to excite you. I don't know what excites you here, apart from like Naz, who I think he's a known commodity at this point. Yeah. So you don't need to watch to be like, oh, what's he going to do? Darcy Wilson, he's cool as well, as a young guy, but, that's not the guy who's exciting me, man. I look at the list and it's just, it's boring. Yeah. It's mid.
They do have a lot of injuries.
Yeah,
so there are players that could come in, but
but for now, right at this moment, it's a very skippable game, to be honest.
They're a skippable team. They're a skippable team, so they just don't have enough firepower to be interesting. Yeah. I don't think that they really can compete with the bigger names. They're a bit in no man's land, I think.
Yeah, and then you look at the other side, the other team, mate, they've got too much players to be excited
They brought
about.
a lot of depth in. Like the three players they brought in, Pete Ling, Neil Bullen, and Cumming, all scored goals.
Yeah, there you go.
So they've come in, the goal scorers, to make immediate impact. You got Rankin, who's primed to dominate the season. Jordan Dawson looked ridiculous. Saligo in the midfield, building on his season last year. Their tools, Beardthorpe, Fogarty.
Yeah,
you just look around, you go, oh man, like they've just added a lot of pieces. Like they look like a solid unit, and they brought that kind of manic Adelaide pressure that they've kind of been building over the last couple of seasons. That against the Saints outfit, they just had no option. So it's just a dominant game.
Oh yeah. No, the Crows look. Shout out Slonky Doink. They're ready to make the top 8, man. They're ready for it. And to be honest, I think anything below a top 8, even look, maybe it's overreacting because they've just versed the Saints, but I think anything below a top 8, year, I think would be very disappointing.
I think it would be a failure, man.
Yeah, 100%.
100% it is. I think everyone will agree with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people fighting for top 8 position, but the Crows need to put their name up there.
100%.
It's about time that they took that rise.
Yeah, because look, during their rebuild, they picked up Rankin and they picked up Dawson. They picked up like 2 A graders, 2 A plus graders, you know what I mean? 2 high echelon players. And they still managed, to pick up, Dan Curtin, Draper, who, was solid when he came on. All those, younger dudes, Rochelle, however you say his name.
He played well as well.
He was also great. So they've just got this perfect mix of high-end talent and young guys coming through. It's a recipe for a great season. And look, probably a nice way to start as well when, your first game is against an undermanned St Kilda side.
That's right.
But yeah, that's really all I've kind of got on that one, to be honest with you. But yeah, look, I got to say, I do feel vindicated from this another Supercoach chat thing. Rankin was the guy for me the entire preseason coming in, and also in draft. I picked him up at pick 11, which is like 15 above his average or something like that. Because I'm like, I got to get my guy, got to get my forward. So
talented player, man.
Oh yeah,
and now that he's basically a midfielder, he's just got that twitch fiber. He's just clean as. He's a special talent, man. I mean, super high draft pick, and we knew how talented he was from his first game. Remember those goals that he kicked?
Yeah.
So there's nothing this guy can't do. You just hope, from a supporter's perspective, he stays fit, because we know he's got little hamstring troubles and soft tissue issues.
Yeah.
If he can play a full season, potentially Brownlow's on the cards. All Australian is definitely a lock.
I said it last week, huh?
Yeah.
Brownlow for Rankin. So,
but I mean, I'd give Jordan Dawson the 3 votes. I thought he was immense.
Yeah. I feel like you could go either way, to be honest with you.
But yeah, he's in the votes. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah. So next game we'll talk about was an interesting one because they got it pretty close, Melbourne. So look, I think. Look, it's good I can't really tell where to sort of view this game, because it's great for Melbourne that they got this close and they had all these debutants as well, right? All these debutants. But this was a game without Jesse Hogan, without Briggs, and it was an opportunity for just them to dominate in the centre, Gawn to just kill it.
Which I feel like they did.
They did do. I guess it might have been sort of, curtailed by the rain, so then that sort of nullifies, big players being a factor. But yeah, look, GWS they've come away with a win. I think I think it's impressive with those outs.
I think it is. I think look, I watched a decent amount of this game, and I kind of feel like Melbourne were impressing, and I thought, oh shit, they actually look pretty good, because we weren't sure really where to put this team.
Yeah.
But I think that they will have a good season overall, even though they lost this game.
That just wrecked your momentum.
Yeah, they it was good to see like Gorn dominated. It was good to see Petrarca and Oliver back. Oliver not to his absolute best, but still a bit more of the type of player that he looked like.
Yeah.
And in the rainy conditions, you thought Melbourne was going to be able to get their forward half game going. Smash it out of the midfield, keep it locked in the forward line. And while the Giants are obviously clearly a good team, Melbourne had many moments throughout the game we're like, oh, look at them go, look at them play. This is the Melbourne way. Even like players like Caleb Windsor kicking long goals, and a couple of these young players that you mentioned, Xavier Lindsay, amazing first performance. I'm not sure who won Rising Star. Have they announced it yet?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but you'd think Lindsay would be up there. Ashcroft would be up there.
Yeah, so he's one of the debutants that starred. But I just thought in the end that the Giants just had too much class to make it work. And the third quarter there was so much rain. It was very, very hard to play.
Yeah.
Melbourne had about 11-point lead coming into the third quarter, and he thought, man, that's a handy lead for these bad conditions. But it dried up enough to get a somewhat normal game going. And Toby Green, like captain's performance, 11 possessions or something last quarter, 4 clearances, got it going, kicked a couple of goals. And then Keith, the unlikely goal scorer. I mean, there was a minute, like Melbourne had a couple of shots at goal, and I think it was AJ missed it. And then 1 minute 40, like coast to coast, Lockie Whitfield, a contest in the middle, Callahan finds his way.
Yeah.
Ward to Keith, and then Keith right through the middle, man, right through the middle to kind of steal it.
Never in doubt.
No, never in doubt. So, look, the Giants are clearly a good team, but I don't think Melbourne lost any supporters from that.
Yeah.
I actually think that's not a bad effort.
Yeah,
and it's good to see some of the young kids come through. They're a team that has a solid core of players, and they've also got the young ones coming through that you're going to see over the season. So I don't know if finals they'll push for finals, but whether they get it, I'm not sure. But at least they're going to get some games into some young players.
100%. Look, I think you said, they haven't lost any fans. To be honest, I don't know what fans, because that stadium was empty, bro.
Standard Melbourne game, to be honest.
Yeah, look, them against GWS in a rainy day, it's not really set up for a big crowd, but like, man, it looked bad,
MCG
man.
gives those tickets away, man.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, I think to myself, can they just give it to another team? Can I give the MCG spot to another team?
That's the only Giants game at the MCG this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Apart from the finals, man. Yeah. Apart from the granny,
Yeah, Melbourne. Look, we joke about Melbourne supporters, but it's just one of those things that like you can't hide from. Like you can't hide from the fact that West Coast fans turn up, right? Melbourne fans don't turn up, or there's just no Melbourne fans.
It's one or the other, man.
It's almost as if they had more fans, they'd find a way to win that game.
Yeah, maybe, man. If they saw their fans out there with the ponchos, you know what I mean? Just yelling and screaming, and maybe it might have galvanized, the youngsters, you know what I mean? I don't know. But that was the thing that I noticed, watching some, of the game. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, well, step up on that one.
Yeah.
But GWS, still they're top 4 favorites, mate. They're excellent, mate.
I have to agree with that. And last thing on the Giants, I was happy to see Caniglia actually have a good game, because he's fallen a bit out of favour over the last couple of years, I think.
Yeah. I know, I agree. No, Cogs at one stage was the guy, man. Cogs, we love watching him play. Did he get like inside midfield minutes? I'm trying to think. How did he
kicked a couple of goals. I think a bit of forward, a bit of half forward.
Yeah. It's interesting with GWS. It's like if you don't make the grade, they just put you into different positions. They did it with Perryman as well. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know what, pal? No, you're not. You're not doing the job that we want you to do. We're putting Bedford in there. You know what I mean? We're putting, we're putting Callahan in there. We're putting. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. They put the best in there. You know. Tom Green, like from early, was getting inside midfield minutes. They put the trust in him really early.
Well, so I like their combo of Green and Callahan too, because there was a question of, is Callahan going to remain in the midfield?
Yeah,
definitely, man. That's X factor, and he's broken out because his last game was amazing, and this round he was crucial. So he's here to stay, which is cool.
100%. Yeah, no, I'm big on both of those, and there's height and power, and like Green a bit more like on the inside, whereas Callahan has a bit more that burst on the out, and they're both, tall kids as well. So it's a really nice midfield mix. And then, you add Briggs in there next week or so after their bye, that'll help as well. Last game, We don't really need to talk about this one much, to be honest with you.
Record-breaking performance from Gold Coast, though.
Yeah, true.
That's the highest win.
That's insane. Actually, I'm looking at now that I think about it, like we got to give him credit because it's a dominant performance against a team. I feel like West Coast are usually competitive, at least in Perth, but obviously that Gold Coast didn't. They didn't care.
Yeah, they look. West Coast looked terrible, to be honest. But Gold Coast looked amazing. And look, if you want to summarize the game, Wits had 68 hitouts.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Now the record. Do you know who holds the record?
Yeah, Todd Goldstein, 70, right?
No, 80.
80. Did he 80?
Yeah, did 80.
Jeez.
I looked it up because I'm like,
mate.
surely Wits has hit a record.
Nah, man. If you're a North supporter, you know Goldie. Goldie, mate. He was. I don't know who he did it against. I think it was against the Dogs. I got the vague memory that he did.
It might have been against the Dogs.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think who would have been the ruckman at the time. Like, was it English? Was it like young English? Was it like Hudson or something? Remember Hudson?
No,
Ben Hudson? Don't remember Ben Hudson. Big beard, bad hairline. Don't remember Ben Hudson. That's crazy. I don't feel like that's
Will Minton.
Will Minton. Maybe it was against Will. Will.
But my point is, 68 hitouts to what? Do you know what Flynn got without looking?
No, I didn't see
13.
What? 13. Oh my god.
So
that's so bad, man.
It's just such a dominant. Like I think there was 30 clearances between.
Remember this guy, Ben Hudson?
Not really, man.
Nah. Look, he's a bit of a journeyman ruckman, just a big brute. Look at this photo. Look how jacked he was, bro. He's just this big brute bloke.
This is the bloke that you think conceded 80 hitouts.
Perhaps. I need to do my research on that one, but nah.
Be careful, man. You're tainting this guy's name
in
front of all of our audience.
I know. Sorry, Ben. Benjamin Hudson.
Friend of the pod, Ben.
Friend of the pod, Ben Hudson, bro. Who would have thought he comes up on a podcast?
Imagine he comments.
No,
Thanks, boys, for the shout.
Yeah.
No, what was I saying? Over 30 clearances between Rao, Anderson, and Miller. That's going to happen when you win the hit-out battle that much. But yeah, just like, that's an annihilation.
Yeah.
But good on Gold Coast for coming their first game away, which they don't play well historically, and putting the team to the sword. I think that's a step forward.
100%.
Finals bound.
Now, like, you look, I don't know, who do they have the next week after? Because they've got the bye now, along with GWS. And then we go to the next week. Let's have a look. Because whoever they're going to come up against, they'd be concerned. Oh, it's Melbourne. It's Melbourne at the MCG, right? So that's Melbourne are going to be concerned, mate.
But they've got that kind of midfield and a brute ruckman to kind of contest in the midfield.
Yeah, true. That is true.
But yeah, I'm happy to even back Gold Coast for that.
I would, to be honest. And then the next game that's going to be an excellent one. People's first.
Should we do tips?
Adelaide.
Should we get into tips?
Yeah, we'll do tips so we can wrap it all up. First game, Carlton versus Hawthorn, and we'll do a margin as well.
Hawks by 45.
I'm doing Hawks by 33 is mine. Now, Footscray versus Collingwood. I'm happy to go Collingwood.
Yeah, let's go Pies.
Yeah, still an undermanned Bulldogs midfield. I think this is a pretty easy round to tip from what I've, from me looking at it. Adelaide, so Essendon versus Adelaide at the MCG. We're going to be going Adelaide,
Yep.
Can't tip against them at this point. Port Adelaide versus Richmond at Adelaide. It's going to be Port.
Yeah, it's going to be Port.
They have to.
It's going to be Port.
Could you, look, more embarrassing than you guys losing to Richmond would be them losing to Richmond in Adelaide.
I think so.
That would be honestly just fold the club.
I think that would be more embarrassing, yeah.
Legit, just fold.
It's almost like making a second mistake. You can't lose by 91 points and then lose to Richmond.
Mate, there's no second strike in the AFL like that. You know what I mean? You can't be doing that. Next game is St Kilda versus Geelong at Marvel. That's an easy Geelong. See, it's an easy game. It's an easy round so
It's
far.
an obvious one, but there's always upsets.
Yeah, where's your upset there, man?
Well, keep going.
All right. Brisbane versus the Eagles at the Gabba.
That's my upset.
Oh man! See, this one, look, it's North versus Melbourne at Marvel. I'm tipping North just because it's a hard tip.
Yeah, I'll tip Melbourne.
There we go.
I already wasted a tip on North. I'm not doing it again, man.
Nah, fair. I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah.
And then Freo versus Sydney. Now that's an interesting one. That's probably the only kind of tough one
I'm
to
gonna
pick
go Freo
at Optus.
But then
yeah.
Sydney 0-3.
That feels wrong, huh?
It does feel wrong.
It's like who needs to respond more?
I think Freo needs to respond more.
I'm kind of I'm happy to go with Freo, the home team at this point, but it's very much a 50-50, man. And then Suns and Giants have a bye, so we got one less
How
game.
good that we got a bye straight away, man.
I know,
That's
man.
what we've all been asking for.
Look, nine games was quite a lot, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed having it, mate. But anyway, look, any concluding things to talk about for round one? Anything you wanted to bring up? Any other people that you met at the F1? Or?
No. Look, the round started terribly.
Yeah, no,
and
fair
I think
enough.
it's going to start terribly again next week. So expect me to be in a good mood again next week.
That's it. Mate. Look, and hopefully, we'll have Dino on the pod next week as well, and he can bring up your mood maybe a little bit.
I'll just stare.
Hanging out with two of your boys.
We'll go back to the couch next week, and I'll just be in the middle. I'll just stare longingly into a direction and say nothing the whole time, and you guys can just bounce around.
True, that works. Look, because today, this was very brave of you today. Only two of us. You got to...
I showed up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, straight up into, the Carlton game. I got to say, when it's the two of us and the Carlton game comes up, I like it because you can just sort of take over. I just let you do your thing. I don't really need to provide
I
too
do the
much,
same when you talk about Northman.
Yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for listening. If you got this far.
Thank you.
See you on the next one.
Bye-bye.